Chris Rock said that only women, dogs, and children are loved unconditionally. When you're a man, you have to perform. That's when they actually care about who you are. And all my guys, you know that this is true, and it's even more so, pertinent for a black man. So, because of all that kind of stuff that's happened, we sort of have our legs chopped off, and so it's harder to perform. And so even less people love us, so it's a whole cascading kind of effect thing. But I think the main things would be to affirm to yourself as a black man that you are a leader, you are good enough, and have like a support system of black men.
What is it about the black man? Not like that, ladies. But I mean, like, what is it about men of color that is, I think, so defining in terms of their personalities, their identities, and who they've become? I remember I was told a story once, and I'll introduce who this is just now. But I was told a story once by my mother, and she said that back in the days, when you were walking in like a scary hallway or scary passageway somewhere or an alley, and you saw and I'm just going to use for the purposes of today's conversations, another individual coming along or a black man coming along, you would feel, goodness, thank goodness there's someone else in this alleyway or in this passage that's gonna, I'm not alone. But now, if you're walking in an alleyway and you see a black man coming, there's that different connotation altogether. And so that's what we're going to speak about today. We're going to speak about the identity of the black man and how in ancient times he represented this strength and this power and a lot of other things, but he represented so many things that were just so godly and so beautiful and so honorable. And how today, in today's society, what we see a lot more of the time is that when you see a black man or when a black man is represented, I mean, goodness, look at so many of the things that have happened in apartheid South Africa, in the United States around black men, and so many other countries across the world. There's just so many big conversations. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And because you can't claim a perspective unless you have it, I've brought a young black man to speak with me today. And so because I think it's so important because, it's one thing to say, I can imagine how you feel, or I think I understand where you're coming from. But you can't really, we can't really say that. And so this is Zanele Njapha, or Michael, the masterpiece. He is a bodybuilder, as you could probably see through his jersey. But he also happens to be my brother. So Zanele, anything you wanted to say hi to everyone or opening up just about the topic before we really get into it a little bit more?
Nothing much. Just thank you for bringing me on, and hi everyone.
Yay! All right, guys, so this is my brother. What I'll do is I will tag him in the comments of the video so that you can see in the description, and then you can just connect with him if you want to have a conversation with him about some of the things he's going to share. And yeah, anything else, feel free to jump all over him and have a conversation in a good way. So let's get started then. This is the Reimagine Africa series. And as you know, if you haven't watched the rest of our videos, this is now the 6th video in the series. We've come so far, so proud. And make sure you go watch the rest of the videos if you haven't. And this is now the 6th video. And the reason why it's called the Reimagine Africa series is because we're talking about how Africans, both in Africa and in the diaspora, but not just Africans, individuals that interact with Africans, which is everyone really in the world, can start to rethink the narrative around Africa, unlearn and break down all of those mindsets and ideologies that we've carried for a very long time. Things like African time, that was one of our last videos that we recently had about African time and how certain mindsets and ideas and practices are actually doing more harm than good. So today we're talking about the black man. And I thought this was going to be a really, really interesting one. And I think it will. So let's talk a little bit about that. Before we go into our 3 parts, we break up all of our episodes into awareness, action, and then lastly, keeping it up to make sure we get the habit stuff going. So I think let's just start with a little bit of background about that. Smanga, I think I would love to know from you. I mean, you're a young black man, and goodness, it has so many different connotations, right? What would you say some of the big themes are that come up in your mind, maybe that you've been taught or maybe that you've experienced when it comes to being a young black man? What does what does that feel like? What does that look like? What are some of the themes that come up, what you've seen and experienced?
Well, there's some good ones and some bad ones. So some of the good ones is that, at least in first world countries, with people like Kanye West marrying, interracially and stuff like that, there's sort of an exoticism of, we can have them now kind of thing. It's sort of like the reverse of when you're Black in South Africa or America, and before you were freed, in terms of the law at least, you could finally date a white woman, or you could finally date someone outside of your race, and so the same kind of thing happens for Black men. So I guess that one's not too bad. So one of the bad ones is probably like what you said earlier about there's a stigma of they're dangerous, they'll harm you, they don't know anything, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's the main kind of stuff that comes to mind.
Yeah. Oh wow, those are all such great points. You make me think about the exoticism, and in the last part that you mentioned now about how Black men really have become associated with being dangerous, with being very low value individuals in society, and just receiving such backlash around so many things. Goodness, I think this conversation is going to get really deep, but it reminds me of a conversation that our dad has had with us consistently about how during the apartheid days in South Africa, you would have the police coming into your house, and as a man, you were someone who's supposed to defend your family, but you found yourself in a position where the police had come into your house and they were making fun of you, or they were poking at you.
In front of your children, in front of your wife, and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. And what are some of the things you think that would make a man feel? I mean, from a young man's perspective, just walk me through that.
Immensely emasculate him. Like, not only would it change his perception of himself, but it also change the children's perspective of dad, and maybe their wife's perspective of, the husband and stuff like that. So it's very destructive. It's actually one of the reasons I think, Black men were, like you said, like the leader of the house and like this symbol of stoicism. But now, because of stuff that's happened in the past, the Black man has sort of lost themselves, sort of lost their role and importance in society. So stuff like that has really impacted and is continuing to impact today.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's why conversations like this are so necessary, so that the Black man can almost reinstate himself, but not just on his own, along with his family, along with women of color, and not just people of color, but I think just everyone needs to play some kind of role in helping him to, okay, maybe not everyone needs to play a role in helping the Black man to reestablish himself, but at least the women of color and the children and children need to help the Black man to be reinstated in that
support system.
Yeah.
You can't lead if there's no one to lead.
Exactly. And I love that when you said that when they came into the homes, or when I think anyone degrades or maybe defirms a Black man in front of his family and in front of his children, it doesn't only change his perception around himself, possibly saying, oh my goodness, I can't defend my, almost spoken Zulu, oh my goodness, I can't defend my family. But also his wife, imagine what his wife is thinking. How, what is...
I thought you could...
Come on! Yo, this is so deep. Okay, so let's track back then. Now, I think what we're going to do, there's so many things that we could say here, and this is only the tip of the iceberg. And the reason why I have these conversations is just to prompt. We don't go too deep with these. I don't, give too much of my own opinion, because I understand that these issues are very subjective. And depending on where in the world you come from, the perspective that you had, the experiences you've had, you have something different to share. So let me know in the comments, what your thoughts are. Which perspective are you coming from? What have you identified? What have you seen? What's your experience on this? And how are you moving forward with it? So before we then go into our 3 different parts, that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at how we move forward. because we've given a little bit of background around what it feels like and what the theme is. But now I think we really do want these to be solution focused. And so that's what we're going to do now. And we're going to now break the session up into 3 different parts, like we always do: awareness, action, and then keeping it up. And as I go through each, I am going to ask Smanga to just chip in a little bit with what he feels are some of the things that have been helpful in his own journey, and some of the things that he thinks you might find helpful, and as you move sort of along everything else. Any thoughts before we get started?
No, let's get into it.
Cool, let's do that. So we're going to start with awareness. And as you guys know, awareness is all around just asking the questions. It's all around just literally coming back to the present, because I think a lot of the time we want to change things and we want to bring solutions, but we're not even aware of what the problem is to start with, and the real problem. Not, sometimes we diagnose using the symptoms, but we really want to get to the depths. But this is not about pointing fingers as well, and I think that's the other thing. It's about pointing the fingers at ourselves and saying, how do I become an agent of the change that I want to see? I posted a post on Instagram today that said change is not something we pray or we wish for. We can pray and wish for it, but it's something we do. Change is actually a verb. It's something that we do. And I think a lot of the time we tend to go, oh goodness, I look forward to the change in this country and in our world. Yes, someday. And we just forget that we hold so much power in ourselves. So let's start then. We're going to start with awareness. I've got 2 different things that I think are important for awareness, and they will be up on the screen as they always are. And then I'd love to hear what Smanga has as well to share with us. So the first one of mine is asking ourselves, what standards do I hold the black men in my life to? And this one is very important. So this applies to you whether you're a person of color or not, whether you're a man or not, it doesn't matter. Ask yourself, what are the standards or expectations you place on the black men in your life? So just have a really good think, maybe even journal these, or, take them down in your diary or whatever it is. When you see your husband, or you see your boyfriend, or you see your colleague, or wherever the black men are in your life, it doesn't matter who you are, what do you expect from them? If something was to happen and you were to find out that they've, knock on wood, they've robbed or something, or done something, completely criminal, are you going to be surprised by that? Or are you going to go, oh, well, it's just another guy. I mean, what else did we expect? So ask yourself, what are your expectations? What are the expectations that you hold? What are the standards that you hold the black men in your life to? Because whether you know it or not, guys, people do tend to rise to those expectations. We want to meet expectations. There's actually neuroscience research that says that expectations are one of the biggest drivers for behavior change, because we want to meet expectations. We want to exceed them. It's like a carrot and stick vibe. And so you really want to ask yourself, what are the expectations I hold my husband to? What are the expectations I hold the father of my children to? What are the expectations I hold Tab or my colleague to? And just really ask yourself those questions. Second one that I have is, do I recognize any biases in myself? And now the way you might be able to pick these up is asking yourself the emotions. What emotions, when you interact with individuals in your life that are black men, what are the emotions that tend to come up when you have conversations with them? Or what are the emotions that tend to come up when you are speaking to them, or when you are around them, or when you see them coming around the corner? What are the things that well up inside of you that you're going, And the next one, the words, is another way you can pick up your biases. What are the words you use? When, let's say, for example, when Adebayo's not in the room and you are talking about him with someone else, what are the words that you are using? And then the last one is actions. Very important as well. What are the actions? What are the ways that you act in response to individuals, either when a conversation around black men is happening, or when you're speaking to a black man or engaging with a black man? What because this is where we really find those biases and those nuances and those beliefs. It's in the little almost nooks and crannies of our actions, our words, and our thoughts. So I'll pause there, and our emotions, I'll pause there, and then I'd just love to know from you, Smanga, any tips around awareness that you think would be helpful?
No, I don't have any. I think the main thing with awareness of any kind is like E.T., because I watch E.T. a lot. Eric Thomas. Shout out to Eric if you ever see this. It's just like being very intentional and deliberate. So like you said, once you've identified and you sort of catch yourself doing whatever you're doing that's not serving you well, is being intentional and deliberate in combating that. So one of the things I like, just to go on a tangent here, but one of the things I used to struggle with is motivation. So that's how I got into, learning about Eric Thomas and stuff like that. So every time I used to like feel a bit lazy or something like that and not want to complete something, I used to catch myself, and he always talks about being intentional and deliberate. Every time you feel like that behavior is arising again, like don't be ashamed. Like, so what if you have to watch a movie to get you back into the spirits? If that's what it takes, then keep doing that. Yeah. Before you know it, you won't need the movie. And I guess that's the main thing. Yeah.
No, I really like that. No, I love that. Being intentional is so important. Goodness. I think, often that's why the behavior doesn't stick, is because we're not very intentional about it. So I really like that. So the next thing then, and I think it ties so beautifully to what you said, the intentionality, because it's one thing to, to have the desire somewhere in there to change Africa, because I've heard so many Africans saying, oh, I want to change Africa, I want to go back to the motherland. Guys, I mean, you, like the people that are watching this, you all know that you all come from different parts. And I've heard so many of you saying to me, Zanele, I can't wait to come back to Africa. I'm from Nigeria. I'm from Swaziland. I can't wait to come back and help Mother Africa. There are so many different ways that you can help Africa. And one of them is unraveling or breaking down these narratives that are hurting Africa. And so this is where the action part comes in then. And that's what we're going to move on to now. So for action, I've got two, and then I'll hear from Smanga to see if he has anything that he wants to add action-wise. So the first one for me, goes back to that holding to standards that I spoke about earlier on. And it's just the action part of it. Hold the black men in your life to high standards. Because if you don't, they will fall to those standards if they are low. I promise you. Goodness, I'm thinking about in the workplace and how, goodness, if you are someone who's not a person of color, I'm saying this. I actually say that a lot.
Yeah, you do.
I don't even notice. Maybe you're not a person of color, and the way that you respond to your if maybe you've got people that you've employed that are black men, the way, and I've seen this, people who are not people of color, or maybe just other people but not necessarily black or falling within the category of African, may hold their black men to a standard that is below all of their other employees, or all of their other team members. And this is catastrophic in ways that you won't believe, because people can feel it. When you hold, goodness, people can feel it when you hold standards. People can feel it when you expect less of them. But people can also feel it when you expect more of them. And so I think that the first thing for me is just making sure that we hold the black people in our lives to high standards, the black men in our, and then we tell them. I think that's actually the second one, The second one is speaking, calling it out. Once you've held them to high standards, and these high standards can be standards of respect, standard of love, standard of compassion, standard of leadership and power, and just being able to show up as their best self. The second one is communicate that. Tell them that. Make sure that they know that. Goodness, when daddy comes home, make sure that he knows. We just look up to you. You are such a great provider. Thank you so much for all that you are. We look forward to you, showing up in the best way. You're going to be a great grandfather. We would be so shocked if you robbed the store. Different things that tell him that you expect so many amazing things from him. And this goes whether you are a person of color and you are with the black man in any way, family sense, or even as an employer or employee of the black man. Make sure that he knows that you are consistently, because he's aware of the standard that society holds him to. He's very much aware. Would it, like, are they...
Oh, yeah.
Black men know.
Yeah, there's like... I'm not going to get into exactly, but it's one of those things where there's some things you can and can't say, some things you can and can't do. Or you can do them, but there's going to be catastrophic, what's the word I'm looking for? Repercussions. Yeah. Versus if someone else did it and who doesn't look like you, it might be a different scenario. Yeah.
Okay. So those are my two. Holding them to high standards and then speaking out. And speaking out is not just about affirming them, but it's calling it out when it doesn't happen. So when a black man acts in a way, and this is going to take a lot of strength from all of us, but when he acts in a way that doesn't uplift the image of the black man, you let him know, dude, you're hurting us. You're actually hurting this identity that we're trying to rebuild as black men by doing what you're doing. And I've known of so many instances where black men are starting to call each other out. They're starting to call each other out for a lot of different injustices and ways of acting or being that black men are exercising in society. So I think those two, for me, are very important. Anything from your side, Smango, on action?
I think it would just be like, a lot like what you said, in terms of not necessarily calling them out, but when you know how like there's a Mother's Day and a Father's Day.
Yeah.
So on a Mother's Day, moms get all these great gifts and stuff like that. And Father's Day, your father gets socks and he has to deal with it. And parents do a lot of stuff. So parents do a lot of stuff that we know about and a lot that we don't know about. And so they do that, they sacrifice because they love us. And so it's the same thing with the black man and, with his family and all that kind of stuff. So they need to be shown and, told that, they're appreciated and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. No, I love that. Just praise is so important. So important. I was reading about a piece of research the other day that actually says sufficient praise is equated in the brain to receiving money or romantic affection. So it's processed in the same parts of the brain, that level of praise. That's why some companies can get away with not giving people raises. It's because they praise them. Yeah. And for them, it's just like, I don't even need money because my boss, every now and again, he just keeps saying thank you. And so praise is really important. I love that.
What's his name? Carnegie. What is his first name? The guy who wrote about...
Dale?
Yes, Dale Carnegie said something like that about... I don't want to mess it up because I don't remember the quote exactly, but it was about, praising is more efficient for getting the job done than, reprimanding someone.
Yeah.
So even if they do something incorrectly, you show them how it can be done correctly, or you let them know instead of saying this is incorrect or stuff like that. Yeah, but he talks about it in his book, something about influencing and making friends, something like that.
Oh, I think I know the book you're talking about.
How to influence people and make friends.
Yes. Great book. If you haven't read it, do read it.
The one book I ever read. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not trying to read anything. Let me just...
Oh,
no. Okay, never mind. It's fine, guys. I won't embarrass him. Okay, last one. And we've 23 minutes in already. Okay. Last one is keeping it up. And this one is the one that's all about behavior changes, habits, routines, rituals, and all the things we can do consistently just to keep it habitual. First one I've got here is allyship and being an ally. If you are not in a position where you are a black man, obviously, just take on a position of allyship. And now allyship is a very dicey one because a lot of people are like, no, we're not too sure where allies stand. And allies themselves also sometimes feel very awkward because they don't know and they don't feel like the group they are allying for, is very understanding or receptive.
Or accepts them as an ally.
Yes, that's the other thing, is accepting the ally as an ally. So maybe have conversation. And I think allyship is very much based on empathy. It's based very much on having an understanding, as objective as you can, an understanding of the other person's viewpoint, and having conversations with black men, the black men that you work for, understand their context, the individuals that you're in the workplace with, people that you are your friends. have conversations with them just to better understand. And then through allyship would then look like maybe having speaking out in favor of, you know, others, and not just standing by, because I find that we live so much in a society where people will know that other people are genuinely good and have good intentions and that they are innocent sometimes, but they will stand back. And I think really, really making change is not about standing back, but it's about standing up and making things happen and speaking up for the people we know are innocent and that deserve another chance. So So the second one that I have then is be the change. And be the change is very similar to allyship, but it's all about speak the words, do the actions, carry out the behaviors that you want to see. Don't just say, oh, I wish black men were more honest, or I wish black men were more faithful. Don't.
Hashtag black men don't cheat.
No comment. So be the change, be the person who represents that, because that's the best way people are going to learn what a black man is like. When they watch you and they go, do all black men have, you know, these great bodies? Is that how they all come across? Are they all respectful? Are they all full of great manners? You know, all of those things. It's only through seeing and interacting with black men that are showing up as their best selves and really representing. Because black men don't just represent black men, they represent the entire race, for Pete's sake. And so they've literally got all of us on their shoulders.
Oh, you guys are heavy, right?
The entire time. And so it's really important. Last one that I have is affirmations. And this is specifically for black men. So I'd love to hear what you have to share on this. But affirmations are things that black men can say to themselves to help bolster themselves up so that they remember who they are. I mean, I've heard of people who do little sticky notes and stick them up on their bathroom mirror or things like that, just to help you rebuild. Because I mean, I can imagine what it's like when society, and I think women of color have their fair share of this, but I can imagine what it's like when the entire society is shunning you. So find little ways as a black man to affirm yourself so that you know that you are a powerful, strong, amazing black man who shows up in the best way possible. So reaffirm yourself. Smanga was speaking about motivational videos. If you're into YouTube, which you probably are if you're watching this and you're still watching up until now, find different ways to help yourself to rebuild and affirm yourself. Any thoughts on keeping it up?
I literally had something just now and then it's... Let's see. Oh, okay. It had to deal with the fact that with the affirmations, I think one of the things that, or the main things that the black man can tell himself, and this is coming from, because of the whole fathers were taken out of the home and all that kind of stuff. Every other race, not every other, but like, let me say, maybe Asian people, you know, Europeans. I don't know if we can classify Americans as Europeans or
no.
Yeah, let's just say. I don't wanna,
West.
Can I say the? Okay, we said black men, so okay, let's say white men, Asian men, all that kind of stuff. All of them are known as the leaders of their race. You know, so when it comes to black men, because of the fact that they were taken out of the home, there is a bit of a like loss in communication, because you hear women or black women saying, you know, happy Father's Day on their Instagram posts, or I am a mother, father, and all those kind of things that sort of belittle what it kind of means to be a father or a black man, more like concerning what we're talking about. But like, it's little stuff like that I think has overall like taken the black man out of his position and sort of made him forget how needed he is. So I think one of the main things is, as men, overall, as men, we have a burden of performance. So if you don't perform as a man, no one necessarily cares. Chris Rock said that only women, dogs, and children are loved unconditionally. When you're a man, you have to perform. That's when they actually care about who you are. And all my guys, you know that this is true. And it's even more so, pertinent for a black man. So because of all that kind of stuff that's happened, we sort of have our legs chopped off, and so it's harder to perform. And so even less people love us, so it's a whole cascading kind of effect thing. But I think the main things would be to affirm to yourself as a black man that you are a leader, you are good enough, and have like a support system of black men. Obviously you can have, female friends, and I wouldn't advise it, but, have other black men who are on the same page as you, who want to go somewhere and who want to continue lifting other black men who are stuck in a rut in terms of their mindsets. Just have those people around you and affirm yourself and affirm to them that you you're good enough. You're needed. Our people are progressing every day, and they need people like you and me to keep helping them progress. So stuff like that.
Wow, that's amazing. And this is not the type of work that you do in a day.
Yeah.
I think as we end off, that's really an important caveat to put out there. This is not one of those things that we're going to solve in a day. African people, black people, have been through a lot. We've been through a lot as a continent. We've been through a lot as a people. And there's a lot that it's going to take for us to move forward, or to actually finally see, some type of needle shift in society. But it really is all about starting with ourselves and reimagining Africa in ourselves. And then, like Smanga was saying, and this is something I often say, is building that community of other Africans who are trying to move the needle forward. And that's really when the shift starts to happen, and that you can see it as well, and you can stay in that state of consistently looking forward. I know it was Les Brown who said the pull of the future is stronger than the push of the past. And I find that with a lot of Africans, we tend to focus on the past and how we've been wronged and where everything, we can't change that anymore.
Yeah.
Goodness, if we could, I would be the first one there trying to change things. But we can't, guys. And it really is all about where we focus. And the pull of the future will pull us forward if we're looking that way. And that's where we need to look, at where we want to go. And not where we once were and where our great-great-great-grandfathers were, because we can't change all of that stuff. Any final words, Manga, and how everyone can track you down?
So no final words, but you guys can follow me on Instagram if you're like into fitness and stuff like that. So I can help you get a better physique and stuff. At Michael the Masterpiece, I think you said you'd put my stuff.
Yeah, I will.
So.
Cool, it was so great having you. Thank you. Yay. Okay, guys, this is our brother, Smanga the Micropiece, the Masterpiece. Michael the Masterpiece.
It's cool. She unfollowed me yesterday. Yeah.
I would never do that. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Reimagine Africa. It's been such a pleasure having you. As always, please stay awesome. Look after yourselves. Oh, my battery. Look after yourselves. I love and appreciate you. Please let me know in the comments if you have suggestions for future episodes. Looking for some really great episodes to do for you guys as part of the series. And any suggestions are highly appreciated. I look forward to your thoughts on this one as well, whether you're a black man or you're not a person of color per se, or you're a black woman or anyone else. I'd love your thoughts on this episode, on our guest. If you have a message for him, I'll definitely pass it on if you put it in the comments, and make sure that you connect with him as well. Thank you so much. Look after yourselves. Bye for now. Mwah, 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 mwah.